I bought a drone found at a flea market. The SD card destroyed my reality. I always thought I lived an ordinary life in an ordinary town. But the truth is, the line between an ordinary life and a nightmare is incredibly thin. It's just that most people never see it. Last month, I went to a local flea market looking for some cheap camera lenses. Instead, I found a beat-up, partially melted drone at a junk stand. The vendor said he found it half buried near the dried-up salt flats outside of town. I bought it for $40, thinking I could salvage the parts. But when I got home, I realized the camera gimbal was still intact. More importantly, the internal SD card was still wedged inside. I expected to find some generic landscape shots, or maybe some bored teenager flying it over a park. But the footage I pulled off that card didn't just terrify me. It unraveled an entire decade of my community's history and revealed that someone or something had been watching us for a very, very long time. The card was massive, 512 gigabytes, and it was almost entirely full. I plugged it into my computer, expecting a quick scan. Instead, my screen filled with hundreds of folders. But they weren't categorized by dates or locations. They were categorized by names. My heart did a strange little flutter when I recognized the first folder name, E. Vance. That was Mr. Vance, the high school chemistry teacher who disappeared 6 years ago. The town always assumed he just packed up and left. I clicked the folder. There were dozens of video files. I clicked the first one. It was a high-altitude shot of Mr. Vance's house. The drone was perfectly still, just hovering in the night sky. The footage was eerily silent. It watched as Mr. Vance walked out of his front door, carrying a duffel bag. But he didn't get into a car. He walked down the street, and a dark van pulled up. 2 people got out, spoke to him briefly, and then they all got in the van. The drone followed the van for miles, out past the city limits, until it pulled into an abandoned industrial park. That's where the footage ended. I felt a cold sweat prickle at the back of my neck. I started clicking through other folders. S. Miller, T. Jenkins, M. Roberts, all people from our town who had moved away or disappeared under mysterious circumstances over the last 10 years. I couldn't stop watching. It was like I had stumbled upon a private archive of the town's darkest secrets. Every folder held the same disturbing pattern. The drone would hover silently over a house, recording the person leaving or being taken. Always in the dead of night. Always followed by the same dark van. But it wasn't just the disappearances. There were folders dedicated to seemingly mundane events. A folder called P. Harrison showed Mayor Harrison meeting a man in an alleyway, handing over a thick envelope. Another folder showed a local factory dumping chemicals into the river at 3 a.m. It was clear this wasn't some random hobbyist. This was systematic surveillance. Someone had been holding the town hostage with this information. My anger started to replace the fear. Whoever owned this drone was either blackmailing the entire town or they were part of something much more sinister. I decided I was going to turn this over to the state police. I wasn't going to let this stay buried. But then I found the last folder, and all the anger vanished, replaced by a bone-chilling terror. The folder wasn't named after a person. It was simply titled Target_01. My hands were shaking as I double-clicked it. There was only one video file inside. The date stamp was from the very night before I found the drone. I hit play. The screen showed a dark, blurry image at first, but as the drone stabilized, the picture cleared. It was hovering over a house I recognized instantly. It was my house. The drone slowly descended, the camera panning down to my bedroom window. The curtains were slightly parted. I watched in absolute horror as the camera zoomed in, past the glass, past the curtains. It showed me. I was sitting at my desk, editing a video, completely unaware that a silent eye was watching me from the dark. The video continued for 5 agonizing minutes, just recording me going about my evening. Then the camera suddenly jerked upward. The footage became erratic, spinning wildly. The drone was falling. It caught brief glimpses of the sky, the ground, and a blinding flash of light before the screen abruptly cut to black. The file ended. I slammed my laptop shut. I didn't sleep that night. Every shadow in my room felt like an intruder. Every sound outside my window made me jump. The next morning, I packed the SD card and the drone into a bag and drove straight to the FBI field office in the city. I handed it over to an agent, explaining everything I had seen. They took it seriously. They promised to investigate. That was a month ago. Yesterday, I received a call from the agent. He told me the footage was real, and it had blown the lid off a massive, decade-long corruption and human trafficking ring, involving the mayor, the local police chief, and several prominent businessmen. They were using the drone to keep tabs on anyone who got too close to their operation, or anyone they deemed a liability. When I asked him about the final video, the one of me, the agent hesitated. "They were going to take you next," he said. "They found out you were looking into the factory dumping. The drone was doing a final recon before the van arrived, but something brought it down." I hung up the phone, a cold realization settling over me. The drone hadn't just crashed, it had been shot down. Someone had known the van was coming for me, and they had stopped it. I still don't know who saved my life that night, but I do know one thing. I will never ever look at the night sky the same way again.